What up, y'all? Sorry, man. It's been a crazy few days. Sorry, I have not been doing videos these last few days. So the list will be back next week. Just kind of figured it just because crazy yesterday. I kind of couldn't really get to doing a video, and it got too late. So I decided just not to do one. I might do the Miles one later. I'll see how I'm feeling, but yeah, I might do that one later. But right now, I am reviewing Nefarious. This is a movie I heard about because I saw the trailer. I remember seeing a trailer, just the discussion around it. And I saw John Patrick Flannery, from Boondock Saints, was in it. I was like, all right. So I went to go see it back in, I think it was April when it came out. It was April or May. It's one of those. And man, what was it's good. It is my favorite horror movie this year. Like, to be honest, like even over Talk to Me. And a lot of it is just a discussion between two men, Edward James Brady, which is Sean Patrick Flannery's character, and Dr. James Martin, who's there to deem if Edward is sane or insane, to not be either. If he's deemed insane, he's not going to be executed, basically. And we find out, and that the reveal that Edward's actually taken over by a demon named Nefarious. And a lot of the movie pretty much is the discussion, is them talking. There's other scenes, but to be honest, there's not a lot of characters. There's the warden you see throughout the film, and then I think another character, but a lot of the movie very much is a discussion, and that is why I should have reviewed this when it was out. I don't know why I didn't, but man, the dialogue and the way they're able to keep you into it for a movie that, yeah, it's a lot of discussion. Also, you're in a lot of the same set. They're pretty much just in that room. There's scenes where they switch over, but a lot of it is in that fucking room, and it's just them talking. We find out, Martin's an atheist, so they talk about that, and the people who, I've heard weirdos who are trying to say that this movie, because I guess it's made by a Christian person, but they're trying to say that this movie is preachy, when I'm like, one, a lot of these same people defend the preachy Hollywood movies we get now. These same people have no problem when Marvel or whatever fucking movie spews some leftist shit. That's okay. But these same people, oh, this movie is preachy. No, it's not. It very much is. If you take out, maybe there's one line, I guess you could tell what side the guy is on. But aside from that, it's very much just a movie about a man talking to a demon. If you take everything out, it could just be a movie. Obviously, it's not the best cinematography. You could tell they didn't have a giant budget for this movie. But you know what? They made it work. Because they didn't really need to. The way they were able to keep you entertained with just a discussion for a good, hour and a half. There's not a lot of action. There's not even really a lot of scares like that. There's no jump scares. No nothing. There's really no body count. You hear about people dying. We find out that Edward's mother was killed, and that his unborn child, he had his unborn child aborted. So, yeah, there's things like that, and I guess Edward, in the end, gets executed. But aside from that, you don't see people die, so it's not a body count kind of film. But they were able to keep me entertained. So this whole narrative that I need just kills every scene is bullshit. I can, if you can make your story fucking, compelling with just dialogue, and I thought this movie did it well. The acting from both men. Sean Patrick Brown, he's older now, but he still can fucking go. The way he was even able to change his demeanor, because there are some scenes where he's Nefarious or Nefarious, I think is the actual name, but he responds to Nefarious, so hence the title. But he also is playing Edward, because there's just moments where he switches back and forth. So he's able to play basically two people, and it is believable. It doesn't feel compared to the Maurice from fucking The Nun 2, when he gets possessed, and it's so over the fucking top acting. He's just act all crazy when you're possessed. No, Sean Patrick Flannery actually put some fucking work into it. It isn't okay, the scenes when I'm acting like the demon or Nefarious, he actually tries. He doesn't just, I'm going to make weird faces and just act creepy. He actually tries. That's why this movie fucking works, man. I very much recommend it. I think it's one of those, I feel like you should at least watch once. It's definitely not going to be a horror movie like, let's say, Halloween. I'm going to watch all the time, but is definitely well made, and it's just so fucking good. It's my favorite horror movie this year, and it sucks not a lot of people talking about it. But to be fair, it wasn't released in a lot of places. It's one of those movies that the only real advantage, I'll be honest, of living in this shitty state is that we do get a lot of those like independent kind of movies here. So there is that. So out of 10 for 2023, and in terms of horror movie, obviously, I mean, if I were to be really like honest, it'd probably be more like a 9.5. Because yeah, like I said, there are some scenes you could tell they didn't have really a budget and all that shit. But to be honest, I can get over that. Like, especially when a lot of it is just a discussion in a room. I don't need crazy effects for that. So I'm going to give it a 10. This is probably one of the few rare 10 out of 10s I'm going to give for something from 2023. Even John Wick 4, I didn't give a flat out 10 to. So this was really fucking, the acting alone. Just specifically, which to be fair, these are the characters we're following the most, Martin and, you know, Edward. It makes sense. It's like the acting has to be top notch because you're just kind of following these guys, and it's just a lot of discussion. Like I said, there's not a lot of, I don't think there's really any scares. Like there's a scene where Edward almost, I guess, tries to kill Martin towards the end, like where he grabs him and shit, and then this is where Martin deems him well enough for execution. But that's it. Like it's not a body count movie, and it's still very compelling. So yeah, 10 out of 10 movie. I feel like you should at least watch it once, especially if you're one of those who really love Sean Patrick Flannery as an actor. Just watch it for that. Just his performance in this is incredible. His performance, if I were to just list my favorite performances in a film this year, he might be number one. It's between him and I really think Keanu brought it for John Wick 4. Like, I think in terms of performance, like, I would probably say the first one he's still the best, but I really do love him in 4. So, but Sean Patrick Flannery in this was fucking amazing. So, later, I'm gonna do my Miles video I was supposed to do the other day, but I'm gonna do it later, probably 9:30, 10 o'clock, around there. Yeah. So, but here we go. And it gets going too. Like he arrived, you know, Martin arrives at the prison. So the warden asked about Edward James Brady. We find out he's a serial killer who's killed 11 people. And I like too, they don't go into his backstory. I mean, they a little bit, like you kind of get like, we find out that he killed his mother, but that's it. They don't go too into his backstory. They don't spend like a 30-minute section on it or some shit like that. Like I said, the movie pretty much is just dialogue for a lot of it. Like, it really is just them talking. And I really just love those moments in the movie where it is just them talking about different topics. We find out that James is an atheist, and they talk about atheism and what. Because Brady says that he's taken over by a demon. He reveals his name is Nefarious, which is the actual name, but responds to Nefarious. Martin even suggests that that Edward may just have not bipolar disorder, identity disorder. Like basically multiple personality. I think that's what I was thinking. Multiple personality disorder. So he thinks he kind of has something like that. But then Nefarious goes into, and the way, like I said, Sean Patrick Flannery is able to switch. There is a scene where he switches from Nefarious to, Edward, like him. And I really think that shit is well done. Like even at now, like the fact that he could still go as an actor is great. And I'm open to him doing more stuff, to be honest. I wouldn't mind like a resurgence because he was so fucking good in this movie. Like even if he plays another role like this, he's easily the VIP of the movie for me. Granted, he's part of the reason why I watched it. Because I think at the time I had watched Boondock Saints relatively recently. So, and just to see him in that, and like I said, the back and forth between the two, and like I said, a lot of this movie is in this room. I love movies like, I mean, Reservoir Dogs is like that, where you're pretty much in like one room or one like set for a lot of it, you know? And we get the reveal that, yeah, he killed his mother. Edward goes into his story. And also the way the demon basically proves that himself is real is when he mentions James Martin's abortion, because his wife had an abortion, and the demon basically knew that. And I love that scene when he fucking realized, oh shit, this might be real. And I think that's what made it so good, is like they got a good actor to match with Sean Patrick Flannery. They didn't get some jabroni. Because I don't think, this wouldn't have worked if they just got some schmuck. They actually got a decent actor to compete with him. I don't know. I don't personally know who the actor is, but I thought the guy they got was pretty good. And then, he talks to the warden, and the warden basically says you only have so much time left. So that's basically kind of only other scenes you really would see that cuts between the dialogue is him talking to the warden every now and then. Because a lot of it, it really is pretty much them talking, and the way they're able to keep that compelling for an hour and a half. And it didn't feel boring, or I'm like, oh, can we get to something else? Like, it was like, oh, I'm into it. And like I said, there's not a lot of like crazy, there's no jump scares. There's no like body count in this movie. They mention people dying, like that Edward had killed 11 people. You don't see it. You're just told that he did that. And then we find out he killed his mother and all this shit. And that the plan is that Nefarious actually wants Edward to die for execution, so he can kind of move on in hell. Like and they talk about hell and heaven, all this like stuff. And the way people were trying to, like, weirdos who I saw were trying to say that this movie is like preachy, it really isn't. It's straight up just, it feels like a horror. It's classic horror to me. I don't see it as this uber religious movie. It's like The Exorcist. There's a religious element in The Exorcist. Of fucking course it is. But it doesn't feel like you're just being preached about Catholicism. But of course, that element's gonna fucking be there. It's the same thing here. Especially when you're talking about demons and shit. And hell, of course. There's gonna be that fucking element. I don't know, man. It's like, people just, because these same people have no problem when Hollywood does it. Like mainstream Hollywood preaches some, like a lot of these movies nowadays always have some like like capitalist shit in their movie now. That's fine with them. But God forbid you have maybe a little bit of religion. And even then, I don't feel like this is preaching at all. I felt like I was watching a movie with two good fucking amazing actors just going back and forth. Anyway, so Edward attacks James, and this is where James deems him worthy of execution. And also, he's also a writer. He's also going to write this book. But it changed his mind and decided to warn him about he basically becomes like, he realizes the demons are real. The scene where Edward does get executed is pretty sad to watch. They did a good job too. Like, they don't make him sympathetic. That's not the word I'm going for. But it is still like, they do make it like, man, when he finally gets executed, it's very sad to watch. They do make it hard to watch. And I think they did a good job with that. Then he's talking about his new book, which warns of demons and demon possession. So James Martin basically has he almost kills himself too, because they mentioned that the last person that interviewed Edward killed himself. So basically it's implied that the demon possessed that guy, because it happens after he gets done, after the execution, that James nearly kills himself. Where Nefarious takes him over. So it's implied that he did that to the other guy. But he manages to escape it, and then this is where we have a time jump, and then while he's walking, he sees a lady possessed by Nefarious who mentions his name, and then it kind of ends. I like that. I love this movie. It kind of has like the cycle kind of continues kind of ending to it. But I love it. I really, this is one of my favorites to watch this year. This is definitely going to be in my, I'm definitely going to, when I do my favorite movies of the year, I'm probably going to do favorite horror movies of the year again like I did last year, because I thought there was a good amount of horror this year. I can probably make a list. So, this will definitely, this is number one for that, but this could probably be like, it'll be at least top 10 maybe of the year. It's definitely up there. This was a really good one this year. I'm happy I saw this one. You know, it wasn't released in a lot of theaters, but the fact that I was able to see it in theaters, it was an experience, man. I was like, it was one of those movies I was kind of thinking of afterwards, like, wow, just what an experience. And like I said, the way they're able to make it, it's a lot of talking in one scene, that tension building, the suspense had a pretty good score too. They hit the right cues. It wasn't just shitty jump scares. And the way they handle demon possession. And Sean Patrick Flannery's performance is one of my favorite performances, maybe my favorite performance this year in a movie. He was so fucking good in this. He really was able to pull off, because he, like I said, there's points where he switches from Edward to back to being Nefarious, the demon. So it's very well done. So I definitely recommend this movie. Watch it at least once. It's not really long. It's only an hour and a half. And like I said, it is a lot of dialogue, but it's compelling enough that you don't feel like you're bored. So, 10 out of 10. One of my rare 10 out of 10s, at least from this year, where I flat out will give it a 10. Because this was really fucking good. So, later, like I said, I will be doing my Miles rant for sure, because I need to go off on that character. It's just, before, like I said, when he first came around, I didn't really care. I just looked at him and was like, oh, it's another Spider-Man clone that I don't really consider really Spider-Man. Just like with Ben Reilly or, you know, Spider-Man 29. To me, Peter Parker Spider-Man, it's just how it is. You know, just with like Bruce Wayne is Batman, Clark Kent is Superman. These characters, those specific characters are what make that legacy. That's how I see it. But I'll be talking about that later, but then it's just the character shoved in everything now. Now it's to a point where it's like any Spider-Man thing, I know I'm like, oh, Peter's never going to get a solo thing again. They're going to always have to shove that character in it. And that's why it has gone to like hatred now. So I'll be talking about that later. Tomorrow, I'll be reviewing a movie my friend Steve recommended me. I have not really looked into it. I'm going to go in blind, but we'll see. But anyway, all right, y'all. Talk to y'all later.